Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Soul Shift Messages. If you're going through a transition, an awakening, or just deep inner change, you're in the right place. So take a deep breath. Let these messages meet you where you are. And remember to take what resonates and leave what doesn't for someone else. Nothing good ever comes out of trying to force things to fit. So before I go ahead and get started, please know I cuss. Um, once I get going, the messages start flowing. I can't be 100% sure what's gonna come out, and part of this channel is me being honest, authentic, and real, and part of that is knowing I got a propensity to cuss. So if that does not work for you, please feel free to leave and find another channeler who is more in alignment with you. And if you stay, just know you've been warned. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm not gonna lie, this message has been kind of low key and sometimes high key screaming at me for the past few days, basically since I uploaded the last video, and I'm calling this one, It's Time to Play with the Universe and See What Happens. And I have a lot of notes. I had so many downloads that it was a lot. I felt like I had a bunch of squirrels in my head fighting for one nut. And so I got about 5 pages worth of things to go through, and I know I'm going to channel as I go. So we're going to dive in pretty quick. I am being called to tell you up front that I am going to be kind of rattling off statements as I'm going through this message. And normally I'm pretty good about pulling them into the description, but I'm being told that the way I'm going to do it this time and the way I'm going to channel, I'm not going to be able to put them in the description. So if you are listening to this and you hear something that you like, please just pause it, back it up if you need to, write it down, and then keep playing the video, just because if you're not familiar with how channeling works, a lot of it is it comes in and I usually just spit it right out. That's why I do the warnings in the beginning. And I don't always remember. I'll remember bits and pieces, but I've never gotten to the end of a message and remembered everything. And that's pretty normal. So again, if you hear something that resonates with you, pause the video, back it up if you need to, write it down, and then keep going. A lot of what I'm going to be referencing are ones that I actually use. I don't write them down. I channel a lot of things, and I just kind of say things as I feel called to. So, and the way I'm being guided to do this is, for those of you who are finding this video, and whenever you find it, so it is December 31st, it is New Year's Eve when I'm recording this. So I will be making references to the new year. But if you find this at a later date, trust there is a message in here for you that you need to receive at this time. I just lost my train of thought. Bring it back. Yes, thank you. There's going to be certain themes that some of us, not necessarily all of us, but some of us are going to be moving into. So always use your discernment when you're listening to this. For some of you, you may be listening and realize, like, I'm already in that, and that's good. This is your confirmation. Some of you may know that you're going into this, and for some of you, this is actually going to tell you where you're going and try to help you steer things in that direction. So let's go ahead and jump in, because I'm trying really hard not to make this too long, but I was told to go until the message is complete. So let's see. and really where I'm going to start is talking about the energy right now. Because I am going to hold you. It's been a little wild for me, and it might be for some of you too. Um, like you, I know, like for me personally, I've had moments where I'm tired. I have had moments where I'm wired. I have had moments where I'm tired and wired simultaneously. And some of you may be feeling that way. I was actually super fucking hopped up earlier today. So if I seem a little tired right now, I am. I'm not going to even hold you. That's probably the right time for me to be recording it because I probably would have looked a little nuts had I actually recorded this when I was in that wired phase. Like I said, the downloads have really been downloading. So if you have gifts, you may be noticing that's getting stronger. Things have been really potent lately. You might be feeling intensity and things of that sort. I know I've actually had moments where I've actually had to actually tell my team like I've actually had to make the intention like close my channel to a safe, stable frequency that I can keep grounded because I actually felt like I had like electricity going through me at one point and like just crazy amounts of downloads, so much insight coming in. Like felt like Uncle Fester. If you had like put a light bulb in my mouth, it would have lit up. So some of you may be doing that. A lot of us, the activations have been activating. The energy is just really potent right now. And I'm hearing that's temporary. So some of you, I know I've had to kind of cut back on how much food I'm eating because I just can't, there's just so much energy. I'm having a hard time eating. So if you need to like snack more, that's fine. Just try to get something in you. Um, for some of us, sleep has been weird. For some of us, sleep has been evading us. I know yesterday I got woken up a little bit after 3 in the morning and just for the life of me, like could not go back to sleep. Ended up taking a 2 hour nap later that afternoon. So if you need to nap and you can nap. But I'm hearing that again, that's temporary. This kind of stuff is going to pass. But if you've been feeling a little off or you feel like you've been oscillating between things, be kind to yourself. There is a lot going on. And so, to kind of segue that into this message, really one of the big themes that is coming through right now and is tied to the energy is we're really moving into a time where intention and discernment are going to be paramount. And this isn't to scare anybody. I'm not about that life. I'm really not. We are co creators. I've said it in videos before. I'll say it again. I'll say it till you're sick of hearing it, or better yet, you actually just believe it. But whether you think you are the co creator of your universe or not, you are. So the sooner you really start to believe that, the better. And I'll rant on that all day if I need to. But because there is a lot of potent energy right now, there is a lot of shifting. If you watched my last video, I talked about how, at the end of Beauty and the Beast, when Beast is turning into a human, there is like energy just looping all around him. And a lot of us are in that, whether you identify with the spiritual path or not. That is really what is going on. There's a lot of potent energy. There are many possibilities right now. And what we're really being guided toward is, what do you want? Right? Think Noah in the Notebook. What do you want? What do you want? What are you feeding? Right? Where attention goes, energy flows. What are you feeding? Are you feeding things based in fear, lack, loss, heartbreak? Are you feeding things that are empowering and that really pour back into you? Are you draining? Are you empowering? And really, asking yourself and being really honest. Are these things, are these people, are these concepts, are these habits? I mean, fill it in with whatever's really coming to mind. You know your situation best. There is no wrong answer. Is that serving your greatest and highest good? I think a lot of us, I think it just really feels like a reset right now. And so, intention and discernment. What do you want? Where are your intentions going? What are you focused on? Versus discernment. What are you taking in? What are you sharing your energy with? Things of that sort. So, intention and discernment is an all time high. And keep in mind, too, when it comes to discernment, we are all learning and growing. I'm really getting the feeling that and again, whether you identify with the spiritual path or not, we all have guides. We all have guardian angels. You are not doing this alone. Again, whether you can openly talk to them or not, I'm telling you, they are there and they are coming through heavy in this message. Heavy. So trust in that. But, you know, they want to help us. But we need to, really start making it clear. What do we want? What do we not want? Align our thoughts to that. Align our actions to that. Like they are really, I want to use the word challenge, but it's not in a negative sense. Like it's almost like a lot of us are, and you got to give me a second because I'm still running a lot of energy. A lot of us have really, whether we recognize it or not, we've really been rolling in the deep of this healing journey. Some of you, again, if you identify with the spiritual path, some of you know you've been integrating your shadow. Some of you know that you are trying to rewire and calm down your nervous system. I'm hearing inner flame reclamation, porous field correction. Some of you know you're the generational curse breaker. Some of you know you are here to clear things from the bloodline. You're healing things in your ancestry. You've been renegotiating those soul contracts. You've been exiting, leaving, disconnecting from attachments, energy hooks, siphons, some really nasty shit, and others of you, other you, if you don't identify with that or that doesn't make sense to you, I'm hearing pattern recognition. Some of you are here in this channel and you don't even know why, but it's because you are recognizing patterns in your family, maybe your friends, yourself. And you're like, you know what, that used to work for me, but that's not working for me anymore. And you are making different decisions. You are using that information. You are moving in new directions. And to be honest, it's kind of the same thing. It's just different terminology, so take what resonates and what doesn't, they're different terms, but a lot of the stuff I rattled off for the spiritual path, it really does come down to recognizing certain patterns, certain behaviors, and all that kind of stuff, and observing that and reflecting on how that's impacting you. Again, does that fuel you? Does that pour back into your cup? Or does that drain you? So, we're really, and as we're kind of getting out of this draining, this nastiness, a lot of our energy, a lot of us have not been in our own energy. We haven't been able to co-create from our own energy because we've had other people's mixed in, or we've not had the right people around us and it kind of muddied up our space. And so as a lot of us are doing this, a lot of us are disconnecting and we're sending that shit back where it belongs. So a lot of us are I'm hearing it's not that you've never been powerful or really been able to stand in your authority, to really command your reality. But it feels like as we keep doing this, you know, we have a unique opportunity at this time. A lot of us have never been able to, a lot of us just haven't had our energy as clean enough to really like command the way we have that right now. And that's really the unique opportunity. It's like we're really called, if you've been kind of one foot in and one foot out of that co-creation and all that kind of stuff, we're being called, like, go all in. This is really a time to go all in. Play with the universe and see what happens. Some of you may be familiar with the phrase, may your delulu come trululu. And really the way I was guided to put this is an invitation to step into constructive delusion. What do I mean by constructive delusion? There is delusion that benefits you if you can really buy into it, or in this case, fake it till you make it and you believe it. And, because that is one side of delusion. There is the other side of delusion, and they told me don't spend a lot of time on this, and if you think I'm calling you out, I might be, but just know it's with love and genuinely from a place of love, not judgment. There is the delusion that can lead into psychosis. And we rebuke, bind, and banish that shit. None of that. No. We do that with confusion. We do that with psychosis. We do that with stagnation, procrastination, whatever you feel it is, right? So, when it comes to the delusion that leads to psychosis, what I'm really getting about that is this is really the time to be focused on you. Don't be focused on what them other people are doing, right? So again, what do you want? What are you feeding? Is it really in your best interest to be listening to readings about who is sending you evil eye? What do people think about you? What does, this person think about you? What does your SP think about you? I'm really just hearing, baby, do you love yourself or not? Because a lot of those relationship type things really start with yourself, and again, it's really hard to go through this life and really try to embody who you truly and authentically are without pissing some people off, whether you're intending to or not. So again, it's really about pulling your energy back from things that don't actually serve your greatest and highest good. And what do I mean by that? I mean, really stand in your power, right? Like, everybody in the world has a hater somewhere, and so what we do is we put our protection in place, heck, it's like with evil eye energy, just do your protection how you see fit. If you feel like you need to cleanse, that's totally fine. You want to return things to sender, totally fine. But just know all energy sent to me unaligned with source and unconditional love transmutes into beauty, protection, health, abundance, anything you want to add in there, for me. Thank you for sending that shitty energy to me. I transmute it. I use it to fuel the things that I want. Some of you may just want to send it back. That's fine, but speak that shit into existence. Set that expectation. All weapons formed against me never prosper. That shit never hits. Like, just really be very clear with that, you know? Because again, no matter what you try to do, someone somewhere is going to be bothered about something. Some of you are literally just existing in your own energy, and that triggers people. You cannot control that. So don't be feeding that. Do what you need to do, but we're not feeding the delusion that goes into psychosis. Fuck that. Leave that on other people's channels. Don't bring that in here. Like, I rebuke, bind, and banish that. And you should too. You know, chaos agents, parasitic motherfuckers, all that shit. Like, just mimicry. Just, that shit never lands. If it even tries to come at you, transmute it. Set those expectations. Co-creator. All right. So also what some of us also might be doing, and again, intention and discernment. Some of us are, as we're kind of moving through this healing process and we're seeing things differently. Some of you may be recognizing what habits you have, what thought loops you have, what mindsets you have that may be draining you or just not serving your greatest and highest good. Some of you are even recognizing this in other people. And I've said it before, I will say it again. That is information. If it is coming to your attention, you are being asked to look at that. I'm not saying you have to address every single thing at once, but pattern recognition, whether you identify with a spiritual path or not, is going to continue to be important at this time. And if you recognize that you have certain patterns that are not serving your greatest and highest good, set intentions for that, right? If you have a propensity, I don't know why this is coming up, but if you have a propensity to overspend when you are on your way to the grocery store or wherever you're going and you know you're going to spend money, tell your team, again, whether you can contact them directly or not, thank you for leading me to the things that I need or want that serve my greatest and highest good. And if you're like me, my team knows who they're working with. I say, and keep me away from bullshit I don't actually need. You know, really start getting intentional. Speak that shit into existence, right? If you know you need to be eating more fruits and more vegetables, start saying thank you for, leading me to the right fruits and vegetables that my body needs at this time. Thank you for making them taste delicious. Thank you for deterring me from the things that my body does not need at this time. Really get creative with that. And if you are actually seeing this stuff in other people, again, what do you want to invest in, right? Do you want to keep giving energy to people who are draining you, who are getting themselves in loops? Some of you are having like cases of deja vu with people, and it ain't the good kind. I'm literally hearing, we've been here before. We've done this before. We've already talked about this. Some of you are like, I literally walked you through how to get your ass out of this, and here you are back again in it, asking me for help. Some of you, I'm hearing, it's above me now. Some of you may have helped people who just keep looping and ending up in the same outcome, and they're coming back for help, and some of you are being guided to say no. When I say it's above me now, some of you are really giving it up to the universe and being like, it is between you and whatever you believe in. Universe, do your big one. I am out. So some of you are gonna be putting boundaries in place with other people, and it may not be received well, but some of you are just like, I've bent over backwards for you how many times, and you still end up here. Some people are going to have to learn through loss. Some people are going to have to learn on their own. Some of you may have to accept that you are going to be viewed as the villain in someone's story. And some of you are really ready for that. You're like, I got no problem with that. And that's totally fine. Some of you are going to be uncomfortable, and yet you're going to feel like you have to do it anyway. It really is big boundary season. So if again, some of you may feel, and I know I've had situations come up even just this week where I really felt like I had people testing my gangster. And we're really being invited to look at that from a different point of view. A lot of us are really, some of these opportunities are coming up because we are being given the chance to see our own growth in our experience, right? And so, again, what do you want when these things come up? What do you want to feed? Are you going to jump back into old patterns, old habits, and old roles that some of us have spent most of this year, for some of us, multiple years trying to get out of? Or are you going to move into potentially uncomfortable territory and really start stepping into the new roles, the new energy? Again, what do you want to feed? And if you do accidentally slip back into the old stuff, I'm hearing that is okay. These, some people will say the universe tests you. They're giving me the word checkpoint. These are checkpoints, not just for you, your team, but also for you. So if you slip back into that old stuff, there will be other checkpoints. You will have other opportunities to make different choices in the future, right? Like that checkpoint is, where are you right now? What are you ready for? What needs a little bit more work? So if you feel like you slipped and you went back, don't be beating yourself up. All right? And like how to, for some of you who are actually being, kind of seeing this deja vu stuff, or you just feel like old shit just keeps popping back up that you thought you were done with. Again, co-creation, what do you want? For some of you, you may want to start saying, what is complete is complete. Meaning if I've already finished it, that shit's done. It does not reopen. What is complete and stays complete. No resurrection, none of that shit. I said it's done. I finished it. End of story. For some of you, I'm hearing I release what, and you can get specific. For some of this, I am going to be specific. For some of this, I'm general. Fill it in how you see fit. These are starting points. I release what no longer serves my greatest and highest good at the root. And once it is released, it never returns. Close the book. Close the chapter. For some of you who know you are still clearing other people's stuff, here's a statement for you. What is not mine is no longer referenced. That way you only operate from what is yours. So some things you have that are yours, you'll want to pull that out by the root so you don't just address a symptom and have to come back. Address it at the root. And then for others, if you have other people's energy in your stuff, remove it as a reference point. So that will be helpful to you. Also, for some of you, I'm going to say this now before I get too far and forget. You are co-creators. Your word is your wand. You are the spell. Be mindful of what you are saying and when. I mentioned in the last video, some of us have had our slates wiped clean, and I am one of them. So the statement I really love right now for me is I align with who and what is in alignment with me. And I keep it general because I want that shit blanketed over everything. Friends, love, work, partnerships of any kind, heck, even pets, you know, places that I visit, people I interact with, all that kind of stuff. If you use a statement like that or another general statement like, show me who is or is not um, serving my greatest and highest good, you gotta be careful because if you know you have people in your life, in your circle who don't do that, it could get a little rocky. And you can specify that how you want, right? Some of you may want to use that and say, in alignment with me in love, in friendships, things of that sort. But be mindful of that so you don't, and some of you may not know and you may say it, and baby, you might just find out. Um, so just be mindful of the statements you're using. It's okay to write them down, but if you don't feel ready for that, that's okay too. Take your time with that. But I'm just seeing in practical magic, be careful what you wish for because for some of you, you just might get it. So, and that's not to make you afraid. That's just to remind you if you step into this, that may be something that actually does happen with you. But intention and discernment are very important moving forward. And both as we keep moving through this, you may find that both actually start to increase. So, how do we really play with the universe and see what happens, right? Gratitude. And for some of you, you may be thinking lame, but that is really what is coming through. And I get it, right? Some of you might be like, gratitude again. Like, am I not grateful enough? And really, there's a lot of stuff out there on manifestation. And I'll be honest, I'm a person, the last 2 or 3 years of my life have been the hardest I've been through so far. So I really am like a path of I do the right thing because that's who I am as a person, but I'm also at the point where it's been a lot and I'm a path of least resistance girl. I'm manifesting that life at ease and that things find me easily and effortlessly from expected and unexpected places, sources, and so on. But really, the way they want me to frame this, and I've been using this, and it's actually been working really well for me. And this is part of the reason why they want me to bring it up is I find the easiest way to practice gratitude is to really just say thank you. And I just heard it really is that simple, right? And really, I kind of use a method of like place your order and act as if, right? So, if you picked up on some of those earlier statements, I said thank you for, and that's really how I do it, is I say thank you for things that are not here yet, and you can keep it as simple as you want, but you can do real-time updates with that. Think of it as giving your team fast feedback. If any of you are familiar with version control, think of it that way. You got your base code to get the basic operation, and then you kind of build on top of that. And so, what I'm really getting with that is like, even if you're not, because some of us have really been doing this healing, we've been doing this shedding, and some of us, and frankly myself included, Some of us are really in between identities right now, and that can be a difficult space to be in, right? Because you are releasing things tied to that old identity, but the new identity hasn't fully landed yet. And so you may feel like I'm not 100% sure what I want. And what I'm hearing is that is not the limitation you think it is. And we're not being guided. And I'm sorry for putting it this way, but that's what I'm getting is that's not an acceptable excuse for not starting, at least in your team's eyes. And what I mean by that is some of you know some basic things, right? So, like, I will give you an example of, you know what, let me finish through some of this and I will start giving you some examples that I use. Um, you know, but really right now we're just being guided gratitude. Even if you just say thank you. You know, again, act as if you're placing an order, you know, and assume that it's done. You know, so start small, add on with time. There's no problem with refining. Um, and really don't limit yourself, you know. I just know someone's going to visit this video and be like, "Thank you for giving me $1 million." Like, and that's fine, right? But some of you just feel like there are, you know, for some of you that's just not where the concern is. That's not where you really feel like you want the help and the support, and that's okay. But they're basically saying big, small, anywhere in between, it doesn't matter. Start with something. Play with the universe and see what happens. You're not guaranteed to get it all, and it may not all come quick, but start playing. So really, you know, and again, I'll give you actually some smaller examples that I do and that I use. You know, and some of them may sound small, but again, you know, when things hit, it could be big. You just never know. So play. You know, you know, one of the things I start my day with gratitude, I end my day with gratitude. That's how I roll. And I fill in the day, you know, kind of based on the experiences that I have. And so when I wake up, you know, I always say good morning to my team. I say good morning to my house. Your house is consciousness. Say hello and goodbye to it when you leave. Um, so I always say thank you for another day on the earthly plane, right? Because if you wake up, guess what, baby? You're not done. You're not done. Be grateful for the day. Even when things are not going well, be grateful for the day. You know, I thank my team for all the blessings, abundance, and miracles I'm going to receive that day. I thank them for surprising me today in the most beautiful ways possible, right? Not every day for me is extraordinary, but things, you know, I open up the door to that possibility. I set the expectation that this is possible and that it can happen at any moment. You know, I speak into either my water or my tea, you know, give me the strength to face my day, no matter what the universe throws my way. No matter what this day is to become, give me the best possible outcome. And if you are saying that into tea or coffee or something like that, you know, stir it clockwise as you speak it into it, drink that shit. Um, you know, it's really stuff like that. I am doing a lot with my nervous system, and I am at the point where I got a little bit of homework where I am supposed to, again, assuming the weather's okay, because I'm in a place where it's winter and we get winter here. You know, but as long as the weather is good, I am supposed to go out and have small interactions with people, to train my nervous system that being out there with people is safe. We can have connection and it feels safe. And if you're like, girl, what? I used to have a very porous field. So I used to go out with people and I would suck in their tension, their stress, and all that kind of stuff. So being with people, was not comfortable, not comfortable for me, and very draining. So, my nervous system overcompensated by hypervigilance, among other things. So now I have to teach it. I've been doing that healing. I am not porous the way I was, but I have to teach my nervous system we ain't got to do all of this. So even before I get out of bed, thank you for walking my feet to the right people in the right places at the right time. Thank you for giving me the right words to say at the right time to the right people. Thank you for sending me safe people to talk to. Thank you for sending me into safe spaces for my nervous system. Thank you for helping me teach my nervous system that it is safe to be out in the world and things of that sort. And really, why they want us to do this is because a lot of us are really moving, and don't come at me for this wording, I channeled this, is a lot of us are moving from performance into embodiment. And that can be interpreted in a number of ways, but this is what I got, right? So for some of you, when you start this gratitude practice, you may feel like you're performing it, and I'm hearing do it until you just naturally embody it. I do this a lot now. I don't even think about it. It just flows out. And as ideas come into my head, I just shoot it right out my mouth because I know it's coming up for a reason. So I throw it out there. I set that intention. And what do I mean by we're moving from performative to embodied? Performative, I was told, is really tied to like the old and outdated things that we're letting go. Whether you understand that you were performing old roles, some of you were performing things that you inherited. It wasn't even yours. You didn't even pick it. Some of us, it's old programming, but it's really just those old and outdated things that we're letting go of. That was performative, whether we recognize it or not. And again, that can be like the overgiving, the over-explaining, people pleasing. A lot of us just did that automatically. That was performative. That's actually not who we are. And a lot of us are dropping that at this time. And some of you may know you are dropping those old roles. For some of you, it's old titles. For some of you, you may have had labels that you were okay with before, and you're dropping those too. They don't feel aligned. So people might have said you were the responsible one, the quiet one, the mediator, and all that kind of stuff. Some of you may have really identified yourself as that generational curse breaker, the black sheep and all that kind of stuff. Some of you may have heavily identified as an empath, and some of you may feel like, those are old stories now. As you keep healing, you're kind of like, I am sick of this old shit, like, you're really like, I am more than just a generational curse breaker. I am more, like, you may have been known as the quiet one, and you're learning you actually have a lot to say, and you don't really want to be keeping that peace anymore. And again, if these things still resonate with you and they feel good to you, there's nothing wrong with that. But some of us are really just getting to a point where you just don't feel it's necessary. I'm hearing I'm more than that. Some of you may actually be tapping into the fact that you really are a multi-dimensional and multi-talented being. And you're just like, what I am is a full statement, like I don't need to be going above and beyond that. I am who I am. I believe what I believe, and I don't need to be out here justifying any of it to anybody, especially if I don't feel like it. Embodiment. Some of us are really, you know, we're really being told you can learn, grow, and change, even rebrand if you feel like you need to do that. And you don't have to be loud about it. You can be quiet about it. Some of us were saying too much to the wrong people. Some of us about to get real quiet and people are going to notice. Boundaries, intention, discernment. Are you telling things to people who would speak highly of you in rooms you are in or not in? You know? But again, we're really like, if you've just been feeling like something you kind of always identified with that really spoke to you isn't speaking to you anymore, I'm really getting, you ain't got to hold that. No one said you had to keep that. If it feels too heavy, if it feels wrong, put it down. That's okay. We're here to learn and grow. You can change your mind, change it again, and change it again. It's okay. You know, but yeah, performative to embodied. And some of us are actually already there. Some of us are already in this, you know. And so what this is bringing up next is, for some of us, you could be into heavy purging, and this could be multiple aspects of your life. And why you are purging right now in various ways is actually because a lot of us, I'll honor that. I wasn't meaning to say a lot, but that came out, so I'll stick with that. But a lot of us are moving into new identities. They may not have fully landed yet, and most of us have not fully landed in them yet. But there is a need for us. Like you may have heard as above, so below. A lot of the changes have been happening to us as above, and we need to take some physical action down here, so below. We need to anchor it in. It's almost like we're moving into containment. Things need places to land. We need to take some action here for these things to take hold. So for some of you, you're noticing it in your mind, in your mental state. So like old mindsets, old beliefs, thought loops. Some of you got nasty inner critics. Me too. I tell that bitch go kick rocks a lot. She ain't my friend. The nervous system rewiring. You may be noticing that things that you used to believe in, you just don't anymore. That's okay. Purge what no longer works, what no longer fits, what no longer feels right. For some of you, this is your body. You could be having a lot of somatic releases right now. What are somatic releases? Somatic releases are where you may have felt a lot of tightness in your body and all of a sudden you feel release, followed very quickly by expansion in your body. That's a somatic release. You may find as you do that you crack a little bit, and that's things just realigning to where they're actually supposed to be. Some of you may, and to be honest, as someone who's doing a lot of somatic releases, how to play with the universe with that. Again, anytime I have a somatic release, I say thank you for the release. More, please. Because I know I'm not done. I can feel it in my body. Oliver Twist that. Thank you. More, please. Again, co-create. Same thing with the mindsets. If you recognize you're an overthinker, again, create statements about that. I release the root cause of my overthinking, and once it releases, it never returns. Again, if you're noticing things you don't like in yourself, come up with those statements and just see what happens. A lot of this is about identifying things. Set the intention. and trust that the outcome is coming. And frankly, we all backstep at some point. Be really kind to yourself when you do that. Again, I did a whole last video on people. So a lot of us are releasing relationships of various kinds that no longer serve us. It is a release and alignment, and there is a lot of that going on right now. So if you want details, look at that video. Damn, 50 minutes. All right, let's keep it moving. Things. This is a big one right now, and this hits very close to home for me. Some of you, there's a lot going on with clothing. There's a lot going on with clothing. A lot of and again, this is not to cause any fear. This isn't to make you feel like you got to toss your whole wardrobe. No. No, we're not about that. A lot of us are still wearing clothes that are tied to these old identities. So some of you may be looking at your clothes and feeling like it's time to refresh your wardrobe. If you are feeling that, yeah, you're right. And, we all have different budgets. And so I feel compelled to call out, you don't have to do everything at once. Some of you may have pulls to replace certain things first, and it may surprise you what that is. I'll give you an example. I had to buy new sneakers. When you think about feet, they are your anchors to this world. They ground you. They, in a lot of ways, can be considered your roots, your base. And the message I got was, them old sneakers ain't ever going to walk you into your new timeline. Get new sneakers. So my new sneakers should be here this weekend. Some things may not be what you expect. Some of you may have items of clothing that are like getting stained. Some things may be ripping. I'm hearing a sweater on like getting a pull. Some of you may have a sweater that starts pilling like a motherfucker. I don't know why I'm hearing that, but that may be happening to you. But like some of your clothes may just like start falling apart, and it's because you're supposed to get rid of it. Y'all, I am seeing a t-shirt with nasty, and I'm usually not judgmental, but there ain't no other word for this. Nasty armpits. I'm talking stained, discolored. Some of this shit's looking threadbare. Throw that shit out. Throw that out. If you have socks with holes in them, throw them shits out. Ratty looking underwear, throw that out. Y'all, pay attention to your clothes. Pay attention to the way they feel. Do they make you feel good when you put them on? Do they fit well? If you have clothes that you constantly have to adjust when you're putting on, right? Them bodycon dresses look real good on us when they're in the right place. But if you ever wore one, and I unfortunately did, you just constantly got to fix that shit. Why? Your ass and your cooch is going to come out at some point if you don't keep that thing in check. Get rid of that type of shit. I don't care if it looks super cute on you, if you got to constantly adjust that stuff, if you have to constantly pull those pants up, pull that shirt down, that's the kind of stuff that has to go. How are you going to be the best version of yourself when you got to constantly monitor yourself? How are you going to embody who you are when you got to constantly adjust things? If you got to constantly think about that. Like, no. Get rid of them shits. And again, I'm hearing, well, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm hearing that's not going to work either. Even if you just start by getting 1 to 2 items, do your due diligence, get rid of something, right? Do the exchange, But even if you're losing weight, get one pair of pants that fits you nicely where you are now. A lot of us are moving out of survival mode. And if you're not, rebuke, bind, and banish that shit too. I already did it and I don't care. I'm not here to struggle on any aspect of my life. Fuck that. Been there, done that. There's no t-shirt. I don't want it anyways. You know? So, get out of that. Anchor in what you want. And I'm not saying blow the bank. Again, you can do it methodically. I got to replace pretty much a whole wardrobe. Like shirts, pants, sneakers, coat, pajamas. I got to replace my winter pajamas. So again, like set up a plan. If money is tight, check out some consignment shops. There are thrift stores too. Some are better than others, but that is an avenue that can work. Start small, work your way up. I don't know why this is coming through, but some of you have been having inklings to purchase things that you think are frivolous. I'm seeing some really cute underwear. I'm seeing a matching bra and panty set. These are not frivolous. I'm seeing a nice pair of boxers. I'm not well versed in guys' underwear, but again, if you've been feeling called to get something, go ahead and do that. A lot of us, again, have been in survival mode. That little thing, and again, if money's tight, get one or two pairs. Throw some ratty shit out. Throw some really old stuff out. If you have underwear from when you were like, ladies, we can hold on to underwear forever. If you got shit that's like 10 years old, start there, baby. Start there. That's a good place to look. Especially if you got stuff from your teenage years. I want to get off this shit. What is this? Come on. All right. Let me wrap this up. All right. Trust where you're led. If you really don't have the money for things, again, if you see a matching set that you like, but it's just out of your price point, thank you for the money to buy a nice matching set. Thank you, or, thank you for helping me find a matching set that is cute, that fits me perfectly, that makes me feel really good about myself at a price I can easily afford. Try both of them. Again, take that and run. It's really time to play with the universe. If you know you need certain things, I've already been doing this. Like, thank you for the, I got an hourglass shape. So that tiny waist and the wider hips, it's all fun and games. So you got to try to find a pair of pants that fits both. It ain't that easy. So I've been saying thank you for the pants that fit my shape perfectly, that make me feel really good about me, about myself, and embody the version of me that I am becoming. Like, take this stuff, turn it into statements, and really focus on how to make that work. Play with the universe, see what happens. For some of you, you could be getting rid of possessions. You could actually be redecorating your space right now. And again, if you're guided to get rid of things, do that. We are getting rid of the old, not just energetically, but also physically to make room for these new things. For some, I am getting, if you had a partnership that was long term, or you're getting a divorce, or you have gotten a divorce, and my condolences if you are having relationships come to an end at this time. My heart really does go out to you. Some of you are okay with it, and some of you it hurts. So take your time with that. But some of you are in that process, and you're looking at that mattress and those pillows, and you're thinking you should be getting rid of them. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of energy in that stuff, especially if like the mattress and the pillows are old to begin with. But I am hearing make sure that door is closed and locked before you replace that stuff. If you think you might reconcile with someone, keep that shit. Wait until you are really good and ready. I'm hearing nothing good comes from bringing old energy tied to old identities onto that new stuff. If you do, it happens. You'll keep moving it forward, but if that resonates with you, that is your guidance. Also, if you need to do that and you don't have the money, again, you can get as specific and as creative with this as you want to. You know, thank you for leading me to the right mattress at a price I can easily afford. Thank you for walking my feet to the right store with the right salesman, with the best delivery people, with the best energy, who respect my house and my property when they're here. I mean, seriously, this can get as detailed as you want. Don't treat this with limits. We're expanding. Act accordingly. For some of you, they're pulling me back to the body. I missed something. Sorry, guys. When I say I got notes, I got notes. Some of you, for the body, you could be drinking more water. You could be having diet changes. You may be attracted to certain foods and other things you liked or you loved. You may not be wanting to eat them at all. Trust that. Some of you may be craving random things. Be mindful with it, especially if it's something that isn't the most nutritious. I'm not saying stay away from it completely. I just bought gummy bears yesterday because I haven't had them in years. But if you've got a craving for something, try to follow that. If it's a healthy craving, your body probably needs that. Also, the body purges too. It's not just somatic releases. So some of you may be finding you got to go to the bathroom more right now. Don't worry about that. That's temporary. But as you are getting rid of this stuff, the body remembers and the body stores things. It has to process that and release it as well. So for some of you, you may be experiencing more shaking. Some of you may be looking into trauma and tension release exercises as well. If you don't know what those are, they're a boatload on YouTube. So some of you may be noticing purging with places. And what I mean by that is some of you may be getting new jobs. Some of you may really feel like your time in a certain place is coming to an end. And I'm hearing trust that. You don't have to act on that right away. I feel like when that's time, you'll know. But some of you may be feeling like you're outgrowing places where you are, so you might be moving. And some of you may be revisiting places that like you once really loved and finding that, you're just there and you're like, I don't know why I love this place so much. I don't know why I thought this food tasted so good when it really doesn't. Again, you are changing. Places can be changing too. So if that's happening to you, thank you for guiding me to the right places for me. Thank you for, thank you for aligning me with places that are in alignment with me and my greatest and highest good. Play with this stuff. Content creators. Some of us, I ain't gonna hold you, some of us are full blown graduating certain levels that we've been at. And so as you are doing that, you may find that people you once connected with, creators, heck, it could even be me, and it's totally fine if that's the case, but you may find people that you followed and really resonated with and you really felt like you were in tune with, you may find that changes. So some of you may be into tarot or other channelers and things of that sort. I'm hearing astrologers. You may just be finding that that just doesn't work for you anymore. And I'm hearing that's fine. Again, some people are chapters, not destinations. And really, all right, they want me to elaborate on that. So, a lot of us, as we are graduating these levels, we are maturing. And it's not to say that people being left behind aren't, they're on their own journey. And again, we're focusing on us and what we're doing. But as we are maturing, a lot of us, for some of you, you may identify with polarity integration. But for others of us, we are just becoming more adept in building capacity to hold complexity and recognize complexity and leave space for that. What do I mean by complexity? We are able to recognize that multiple things can be true at once. We don't really see things as black and white as before. There's shades of gray. There's a lot of them. There are more than 50. And they're saying not everybody has that capacity. And so what they are drawing my attention to is, I mentioned before, and I said I would reference it. This is where they want me to reference it. So today, when I'm recording this, it is New Year's Eve. Tomorrow is New Year's Day. And for some of you, you're like, that's the calendar New Year. And that's fine. It is. But, and some of you may still kind of think like, yeah, it is the calendar year. But some of you, if numerology means something to you, some of you recognize tomorrow is 1/1. 2026 is a 10-year, which in numerology, you go down to a single digit. That's a 1 year. So tomorrow is 1/1/1, right? 1, 1 in a 1 year. Now there's debate about what the angel numbers mean, but 1/1/1, generally speaking, has a meaning of new beginnings. So you may be like, yeah, it is technically the calendar new year, but you recognize there's some potent energy there. And so for some of you, you may feel called to do rituals on that day. Because again, for some of us, like, well, it's just the calendar year, but some of us are kind of recognizing that's got some portal energy, that's got some activation energy that can be very powerful. So you may be looking at that differently. The other thing they're saying is, a lot of people, I've been seeing a lot of stuff, and this is actually why they made me pick this example, is 2026 is technically the year, I think it's the fire horse if you're into Chinese astrology. 2026 is generally speaking the year of the fire horse. 2025 is the year of the snake. I don't remember the element. Bear with me on that. But, so like some people have been like, when 2026 starts, it's the year of the horse. The horse, the snake is with shedding. The horse is with movement, but I've also been seeing posts where people have been like, well, don't forget, like, that the Chinese New Year isn't until like mid-February, so like we're not done with the snake yet. So, kind of insinuating there may not be movement. And the message I got with that is you can be wrapping things up and and that new energy is anchoring in. They can coexist. And what they're really telling me is they both exist right now. You can't, some of you recognize like you've done enough healing and you're really moving into that embodiment and containment space, and if you're really feeling that way, your team is telling you like, yeah, that is the way to look at it. You can be in both energies. You can be exiting one as you are entering other. And I think they're really just cautioning us to, why can't there be movement in January? So try to check where you might be unintentionally limiting yourself with that. If you are, some of you aren't, but that's just something they want to point out. Both of those things can be true at once. You can still be shedding things, but it doesn't mean we can't be focusing on where we're going, anchoring that in, setting our intentions, aligning our actions to it. And the last thing is where I am in the Northern Hemisphere, it is winter right now. For some of you, it might be summertime, but in winter, you know, what I'm really getting with that is, in winter, a lot of people talk about, you know, going within. I've heard some people say winter is not a good time to be launching things and things of that sort, and it's really the time to kind of protect what you are planting. And what's very interesting that's being called out to me is it may be winter outside, and if you are being guided to rest and things of that sort, by all means, please do. But the outer season may not actually match the internal season you are in. Some of us are actually in a time of birthing things, because again, we're moving toward embodiment. These things need containers. That's part of the reason why I actually started my channel when I did, because my team said you need not only that outlet for creativity, but you need that channel in place now so that when things really fall into place, it has something to fall into. So some of you may really be feeling called to launch something now. And so I think a lot of this is, again, you are co-creator. Things don't necessarily need to take off with a bang. For some of us, that's not going to be the case, and that's okay. But some of us are really being called to put that container, that foundation in place now, even though, stereotypically people will say don't launch things in the winter. So what are you feeding? Does it serve your greatest and highest good? Do you trust your team? Do you trust yourself and your intuition? It think about that. But that's really, you know, be mindful of that when you're following people. If things aren't feeling right to you, leave it. Just leave it. I'm hearing things, something is always in season. Even in the winter, things grow. Things can still thrive. So just be mindful what you're really buying into with some of that. Rituals. Oh shit, this is such a long video. Thank you if you're hanging in there. For rituals, some of you may be feeling you may have been like big into rituals. You kind of did all the rituals and that really spoke to you. Some of you are being called to do less. And if you are feeling tired and you feel like you need to take a step back from that, that's okay too. Again, some of us, performative versus embodiment. Some of you felt like you had to do all the stuff to make things move, and you may find you ain't got to do all that. So if you're feeling that, honor that. If the rituals still feel good and you strongly feel called to do that, honor that too. This isn't right or wrong. It's just follow where you feel guided and when. Some of you may be learning more about your gifts and leaning more into that. I'm learning that I can manifest. I'm actually learning I can manifest very well through speaking things, eating certain things, and dancing. And what I mean by that is, so it's cold where I am. So I tend to eat oatmeal because it's fucking cold in the morning and I want warm food. So if you know, but cinnamon, sugar, and honey. Don't do a ton of honey or a ton of sugar. You'll sweet your ass right off your seat. Can help attract certain things into you, bring sweet things in. And I always add, bring it in fast. Why? Because I'm an Aries sun. I'm impatient. Bring it now. And then it shows up when it shows up. But I set the intention, bring it now. One of these days is going to happen. You know, sometimes I'm called to program that. Sometimes I don't. But I eat that fairly regularly. So now I have ingested these ingredients. It turns my body into a beacon of what I'm calling in. And then I just start making my statements, and how I do it with music is I'm not the most visual person, but I'm one of those people who can pull the energy from music up and in my body and pull it up and actually hit a state of bliss. While I'm doing it, I can actually, if it's the right situation or it's my intention, I can actually really fall into a trance with music. It's controlled. I can pop out of it if I want or need to, but I can hit a state of bliss if I'm listening to the right song, and I get the right movement and I just dance. I don't think about it. I just do. I just bring that music up. I let it move me how it moves me. And what I'm learning to do is if I listen to certain songs and I start thinking my statements, or, in some cases, actually imagining what I want, that I can powerfully manifest in that manner. And for some of you, like if you really do fall into music and some of that resonates with you, you may want to give that a whirl. And how I align the music to it is if I'm thinking about love, I play Whitney Houston's I Want to Dance with Somebody, and I start thinking about the attributes that I like. I need clothes, so I've been playing I Look Good by Charlie Boy. I like In Style by Masigo, and all that kind of stuff. If you feel like, things have been down and not working in your favor, maybe you want to play All I Do Is Win by DJ Khaled, and stuff like that. If you're really looking to level up, Ciara's got the song Level Up. Think about, where you want to go. How, because again, I don't have to think about so much how I feel because I'm dancing, I'm hitting that bliss state. So it actually makes it easier for me because I don't have to monitor that. So again, play with the universe and see what happens. Some of you may want to get a little scientific with that. If you're being called to different things, try different things, try different statements, write down what you're using, how that happens. What method did you use? And start seeing over time what comes in, what's working for you. And like I said, for me, like with the little things like the safe people and the safe places, the little conversations for my nervous system, I get that every single time I go out. Every single time. Without fail. Without fail. So again, that's why they're saying you can do some big, but add some small ones in. See what starts coming through. If you notice smaller things are working better for you, maybe put things into bite-sized pieces. Work your way up to the big. So, and actually that's a perfect segue. I didn't even think about that. So, and we're almost done. I'm working on it. Isolation into connection. So a lot of us, when we're going through transformations, awakenings, or really deep inner change, it's very easy for us to go within, and we can actually isolate. Some of you may identify with tarot, hermit. Some of us are really getting to a point where we have really made the progress that we're able to make on our own. And what I mean by that is, some of you may be mastering certain things. Some of you really just maybe plateauing. You just feel like you're not making as much progress. And some of you may just be feeling called to get back out there with them people. And some of you are excited, and some of you are like, last time I was out there with all them people, it did not end well. And I get it. I really get it. But some of us are really going to be called to get back out there because connection is important. We're not here to be by ourselves all the time. We're just not. We are, in a lot of ways, built for connection. And a lot of us, part of how we are going to make a difference is by actually going out there as the healed versions of ourselves and interacting with them people, for better or for worse. How they perceive us, how they receive us, that's not our concern. But we are being called to go back out there. And so, you know, again, a lot of us are calming down our nervous systems too. Call in those safe places, call in those people, call in, call in friendships that are in alignment with you. Get as specific as you want. If you have a certain hobby that you really love, thank you for bringing people in who, share this hobby, share this passion, right? If you're a big foodie, maybe you want to say thank you and call in people who are also foodies, and all that kind of stuff, you know. So really set those intentions. Play with the universe. What types of relationships do you want? What qualities in people do you want? Do you need a business partner? Call in a business partner that is trustworthy. You can even be as generic as you want. Thank you for sending me people who, are in alignment with me, and our relationships are built on loyalty, trust, reciprocity, growth. I mean, play. What feels right to you? What do you really want? You know, um, and again, iterate as you go. Um, and if you're really not sure where to start, um, for some of you, this is friendships. For some of you, this is love, but I don't want to necessarily get that specific because I think you all get the point, and I trust you do. For some of you, you need to actually think about, if you really don't know where to start, think about what on past experiences, what you didn't like, and invert that and set that as your intention. So, say for example, you are a person. I'll just use love because that is coming through. Let's say you have been cheated on in the past. Thank you for bringing in someone who is loyal. And I know we shouldn't have to go to those depths, but we're at where we're at. Be specific. You sick of being cheated on? Call in someone who is loyal. Call in someone who is emotionally mature, handles their business, you know, we're no one's parent, right? Like, unless you have kids, then yes, you are. But in our relationships, especially with spouses or partners, no, we're not. Like if you have to be like, knows how to do their own laundry, right? Pays their own bills. Just work with it how you see fit. If you like certain physical characteristics, let's say you like brunettes, thank you for sending me in a beautiful brunette. Um, I always start with the main things. Again, someone who is in alignment with me, someone who really accepts me how I am because I do have these gifts. This is just, this is part of who I am. You got to take it if you're my person. You got to accept this is part of what life with me is going to be like. Um, a kind soul, a really kind soul, and a good heart, you know. And I added on top of that, I got a thing for nice eyes and dimples. So I threw that in there because I like that. Dogs, you gotta like a dog. We're gonna have at least one dog if I have it my way. We're probably going to have two. One for each of us. Um, or more. I don't know. Listen, if that dog is my spirit baby, that's my spirit baby, and we won't get it. So, really play with it, you know, and use that as you see fit. So, and again, iterate on that as you see fit, right? Because for some of us, we've learned some very hard lessons in love, and we are going to get back out there and date. And some of you, you're like, yes, I'm ready, and some of you are not feeling so good about that. And what I'm hearing with that is you are not the same person you were when you last were involved with love. You're not. This is time to trust it. And so for some of you may think you know what you want, and then you start dating and you realize that is not what you want, and that is okay. Some of you think you have a type and you know your type, but you're going to date and realize that, hey, that's not my type anymore. And I'm hearing, no, that is your pattern tied to an old identity. So if you're noticing that, take a look, update what you want, and be open to trying again. Don't get discouraged. Some of us are very specific about what we want. We know what we want. Some of you may even have a person that you want, but I'm hearing be open-minded, because things will still try to distract us. There will always be distractions in this world. So again, this isn't fear-mongering, but if you know what you want and you realize what you have is not what you want, let that person go. What do I mean by that? There's a statement: don't let your boyfriend, don't let your girlfriend, don't let your person distract you from your husband, your wife, your partner, all that kind of stuff. Some of you have a partner, some of you have a wife, some of you have a husband that is distracting you right now from your partner. If you are thinking about what you want in love and you are with someone right now and they are not coming to mind when you think about what you want, what are you going to do about that? And I'm not here to tell you what to do, but that is being called to your attention. Are you going to stay in something that drains you? Or are you going to make the decision that you're going to open yourself up to calling in the love that you really want? And for some of you, that is going to be making hard decisions. So some of you also don't do boo things, don't do side things. That came through very clear. So if you think that's your path, that's not. If you want to do that, that's fine, but that ain't blessed. I'm going to leave that. But for some of you, if you are concerned about leaving someone due to money, thank you for the money. Thank you for opening the path for me to, exit this situation and open myself up for what I really want, what I truly deserve, what is in alignment with me. Again, play with the universe. Some of you just need to ask for the bravery to be perceived as the bad guy and just do the uncomfortable thing. But again, it all comes down to decisions, because you can stay. You can absolutely stay. You don't have to. But for some of you, you need to ask for the courage and the bravery to just know you got to do the hard thing, and that not everyone's going to be happy and all that kind of stuff. Not all growth is going to be comfortable. So, the last thing I'm going to talk about here, and then I'm going to try really hard to wrap this up because this went hella longer than I thought. A lot of us are moving into stability, and the people coming into our lives are also going to be stable. Um, what Why do I need to warn you about that? A lot of us have had overactive nervous systems. Some of us know, some of us suspect that we're overstimulated. I'm in that boat too. This is no judgment. I know that for a fact. In fact, my team has really been on my ass about um, intentionally sitting in boredom, which I don't like. Stability and stable people can often initially come across as boring, right? What do stable people do? They handle their business. They go to work. They manage their money, you know? They make sure their houses are clean. They make sure that their bills are paid. They're focused on them, what they're doing. They support other people from overflow. You know, maybe they go to the gym. I don't know, but like these are not people steeped in drama. You know, they may be clear communicators, which for some of us may be triggering as fuck. What are your expectations? What are your goals? What are your plans? What are you doing to improve yourself? Like, so some may be boring, some may actually trigger you a little bit. These are not, they may feel like red flags up front. I am being told they are not. You are being adjusted to a new frequency with other people. So, obviously, if you feel unsafe, get yourself out of that as safely as you can. But for some of us, there is going to be some discomfort and there is going to be an adjustment period. So if they're not super exciting, you can do whatever you want, but I'm hearing try to give that some time. A lot of us dealt with intensity. The next steps of things are not intensity. Sustainability, slow burn. You know, some of you may just not want to start dating automatically. Maybe some of you want to start by trying to just be friends with someone, and seeing where it goes. Be open to these things. I feel like we're really being called to take our time, to honor our pace. You don't have to label things right away. And again, if these are the right people, they will honor your boundaries. So if you let them know, that I really want to take my time with this. I've not had good experiences in the past. Like, let them know, like, I'm healing from that. But again, just let them know, like, I'm not, looking to define this right away. I want to take my time getting to know you and all that kind of stuff. Heck, some of you may just like genuinely want to start with coffee. Maybe you guys run some errands together. I don't know. Like, just do some very basic, low, non-committal, not super expensive things, So just be open-minded with that. Try to be mindful of that because for some of us, like, that could really just throw us off. And they're saying that's not a bad thing. All right, last one, and I'm going to keep this short because this went so much longer than I thought, but they said go until it's done, and that's what I'm going to do. So a lot of us are moving from analyzing into acting, and I want to be very clear with that. I am not saying that analyzing things has no place moving forward. I am not. I am saying a lot of us are really releasing things from the body for a reason. The body wants a seat at the table moving forward. A lot of us have been treating our body as like a byproduct, an afterthought. That's not its true function moving forward. It's really trying to have a seat at the table because it's going to become a tool for receiving information moving forward. This world has really taught us to analyze, analyze, analyze. A lot of us are familiar with the term analysis paralysis, and that's not going to work for us on this journey as well as it used to. So we are going to be guided to what feels right. We will be talking to people. Some people will make us feel safe. Some people will make us feel uncomfortable. Not necessarily in a very strong manner, but if you've ever said something feels off with that person, that's what I'm talking about. Something just don't sit right. Some of that stuff is getting more pronounced. That's why the body is trying to get rid of this old stuff, because it's going to be more receptive. And so, or there's also going to be some of us where, you know, things will make more sense after we act. We're really being pushed to trust our intuition and following these nudges. They may not make sense in the moment. They may, in some cases, not logically make sense. But for some of us, that is really where we are heading. And so, again, if you set the intentions that your feet always walk you to where you're supposed to be, are you going to actually trust that process when that time comes, when you're called to go to a certain place, when you're called to do a certain thing? It's a lot of people talk about faith. Some of us are going to be called to actually start walking in it. Do you trust yourself? Do you trust your team? Are you going to trust this body? And there are going to be opportunities to practice on smaller terms. I'll give you a very quick example, but I was at a gas station pumping gas, and I was right across from the lottery. Gas stations, at least where I am, have the displays where, it's like Mega Millions and Powerball, and it displays what the jackpots are at that time. And I was looking across at them, and the numbers were, for lack of a better way of putting it, speaking to me. And I'd actually been in the store before, and I heard very quietly, buy a lotto ticket. And for whatever reason, I didn't. But as I kept pumping gas, I was like, you know what? That was a mistake. Like, I don't know. The numbers were just speaking to me. I was like, I just feel called to go get some tickets. Let me go get some tickets. So I finished pumping my gas. I walk back in. I buy my tickets. And I go home. And long story short, I actually didn't win anything on either ticket. And when I checked the second ticket and saw that I didn't win, I actually kind of knew that wasn't the point of the exercise. But of course, I did my thing. As I decided I was going to buy those tickets, I was like, thank you for this abundance I'm about to receive. Thank you for this money that is going to not only fuel my greatest and highest good, but also allow me to share this abundance with others who are worthy, Like, I did my statements and stuff like that, just because you never know. And then, but I did that. And then I realized on Christmas Eve that like Powerball was like crazy, had a crazy big jackpot. And I was like, bummer, I didn't get a ticket. And it was Christmas Eve, so nothing was open as it should. Things should not be open Christmas Eve night, in my opinion. But that's just my take on it. So I was like, you know what, whatever, wasn't meant to be. One of my family members, actually bought me a Powerball ticket. And even though it was a small amount, I still said thank you for the abundance, but I actually won the money back that I had spent on those previous tickets through that ticket that I did not buy. So it's a small example, but I'm just saying that's a small example of, are you going to follow where you're being called? And so others of you are going to have smaller experiences like that. And again, don't beat yourself up if you don't follow it right away. Again, there's going to be other opportunities. But this is, for some of us, preparation. Some of us are going to be making bigger decisions this year. And you're going to be called to move, and you may not, you may be called to do certain things, and you may not know why. And some of these may have larger impacts. And this is really prepping you for that. And some of you are really just going to be like, it just feels right. And as you take that action, you're just going to start really seeing things line up for you beautifully. So, really, trust is essential. All right, so I know this is a super long video, so I am just going to quickly say, so it is time to play with the universe and see what happens. Trust where you are called. Follow those gut nudges. If you feel the urge to say something out loud or do something different, follow that. But intention and discernment is important this year. Gratitude. We're moving from performative into embodiment. A lot of purging right now. Isolation into connection for some of us. If you know that's not for you yet, that is coming, but that's where we are going. And then lastly, we're moving more from analyzing. I would actually argue it's really over analyzing into acting. So remember, you're not lost or behind. You're shifting and realigning. You're transforming. Be very kind to yourself during this time. Be patient. If you are seeing this on New Year's Eve, have fun tonight. Be safe. Celebrate how you see fit. Keeping it easy because it's been another long year. But I got my mozzarella sticks, and even though I have not decided what I'm going to drink yet, or if I'm even going to, I would encourage you all to, whenever you see this video, to pour yourself a glass of something that feels celebratory or special to you, whatever that looks like, and really toast to your breakthrough. You are a success in progress. Your breakthrough is inevitable. Your sovereignty is destined. You know, thank you for the best year I have had in however many years. It's time to play with the universe and see what happens. If this resonated with you, stay tuned. I'll be posting more. And in the meantime, take care of yourself, beautiful souls. Bye.